Hello and welcome to the Sabrena Realty Hour, where we talk all things real estate and community here on 1240 AM Hot News Talk Radio. Good morning and thank you for tuning in today.
Thank you, Chattanooga, for listening and joining us.
Let's get right to it, Mark. There's never been a better time to buy a home or to even sell a home. We talk about this every week. Yep. I mean, the market is on fire, is it not? I cannot tell you how many homes I have listed this year, and they are selling in less than a week. I mean, it is unbelievable. The rates are low. We're going to talk about all that today. But I want to get right into some things as a buyer you should never say when you go into a home and you're looking at it. People don't realize that it's pretty commonplace that a seller might have a video or a tape recorder set up, a camera.
That's right.
We've been hearing some horror stories lately about that. So when you're in looking at a house, you need to keep in mind there may be a tape recorder set up.
Or a bunch of cameras.
So here are some things that you never want to say. This is my dream house. My goodness, is that not playing your deck right off the bat? You never want to say, this is my dream house. This couch is hideous. Boy, that wouldn't be a nice thing to say, would it? I can afford to spend this amount of money. You never, ever, ever want anyone to know what you can afford. I can't wait to get rid of this.
Yeah.
Yep, that's not nice.
Hear that.
Why are you selling? What's it really like to live here? You'll never get that price. No seller wants to hear that. Or I'll give you an extremely and give it an extremely low ball offer. You never want to do that. You shoot yourself in the foot. When a buyer gives a low ball offer, it's very likely that seller's not going to want to do business with you.
Yeah. And also I'll add one. Don't make comments about the ugly family pictures hanging on the wall. Just keep it to yourself.
Well, you know, I like to tell people, take those photos down because they're such a distraction. You know, so many times I'm showing a home and you're walking the clients through and they start looking at the family portraits. So here they are, they're fixated on the family portraits and they're trying to figure out if they know these people rather than looking at the floor plans. So it's a big distraction.
Yeah, they're missing the house.
Exactly. So if you've got a lot of family portraits, you want to take those down because they are a distraction. We want them to look at the floor plan, focus on that. And speaking of buying a home, something that's very, very, very important to do is to get a home inspection.
Yes, you've got to.
Cannot stress how important that is. And that brings in our guest today, one of our guests, Ken Fast. Ken Fast is the owner of Pillar to Post Home Inspections. And how long have you been doing home inspections, Ken?
Oh, good morning. Let me think here.
Long time.
A long time. I think I'm now into year maybe 18.
Wow. That's a long time.
Actually, I personally have inspected over 9,000 homes.
Wow.
So I think that's a lot of crawl spaces.
I was going to say that is a lot of crawl spaces.
That's tremendous. Now, I know your business has grown a lot because it seems like when I started using you, it may have just been you and your wife, and now you've got a number of home inspectors that work with you as well, don't you?
Yes. We've, over those last 18 years, we've grown a fair amount. Actually, I have 3 other fully licensed and certified home inspectors that work with us. So we have 4 inspectors to service the area.
Wow. Well, for anyone listening, why is it important to get a home inspection?
Well, basically what we strive to do from a home inspection standpoint is to educate the buyer on what they're buying. And so while people get caught up with, we love this kitchen, we love this, and well, did the description of the home said that the wires were updated? Right. The electrical was updated. Was that really true?
Yeah.
Most of the time, it really not fully. Right. And so we want to get our clients, the buyer of a home, to understand what they're getting. So basically, we see ourselves as an educator. We like to we want to educate you on what you're buying so you know what you're getting into, what kind of costs that you're going to involve, in the short term, in the long term,
Right.
and just so that you understand.
Yeah, just because that home appears to look to be move-in ready, it doesn't mean that that's the case, does it? Because just looking on the appearance, that doesn't tell you what kind of shape the electrical or the plumbing, the roof, any of those major components. There's no way just by looking visually to know. So you really get in there, kind of walk us through a home inspection. What are some of the main things that you really focus on?
Well, basically, what we do not do is we do not look at cosmetics.
Right.
So paint, carpet,
Exactly.
trim, that's really beyond me.
Right.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and I'm not going to behold
That's
that
true.
whatsoever. But what we're looking at are system structures and
Right.
components of the home. So typically we like to start on the outside of the house. So we're looking at the foundation systems, the wall claddings, the roof system, porches, decks, associated driveways, retaining walls, anything having to do with the house structure
Right.
itself. Once we've had a good look at that, then we'll go in, start at some point in the inside of the house, work our way through the main level of the house, go up as high as we can go, and then go down as far down as we can go, whether it's a basement or crawl space. But we're, of course, looking at foundation issues. Is the floor relatively level? Are there cracks? Are there weird things going on there? But looking at how it's put together from a structure standpoint, through the basement, through the crawl space, or through the attic. Then also looking at systems of the home,
right?
Heating and cooling. Is this thing functioning? Where is it in its? How old is it? Is it doing what it's supposed to do? Plumbing, looking at functional flow and drainage of the fixtures. What kind of pipes do we have? Kind of water heater? How old is it?
Right.
Electrically, see if that looks like it kind of falls in line with the size of the house. Capacity wise, what vintage of breakers or fuses do we have? What vintage of wiring do we have? And then as you go through the house, make sure things work. Lights, outlets, windows, doors, plumbing fixtures, a basic check of kitchen appliances.
Right.
Go through the attic. Do we have insulation? How much insulation do we have? What's the framing look like? Is it sagging? Do we have leaks?
Right.
That kind of thing. Go
That
through the
sounds
crawl
pretty
space.
thorough.
How many buyers go into the crawl space? Some do.
Yeah.
But
I've had a few, not many.
But that's not a place that people normally want to go.
Exactly.
And so unfortunately, that's where we do go. And this past year, we've had so much rain.
Oh, yeah.
What has that done to the crawl space? Is it wet? Is it dry? Is there growth on the floor structure? Is it insulated? We're looking at all of that.
Right. What are some common problems that you see in this area?
Well, probably about 50% of the houses in our area have crawl spaces.
Exactly.
And so unfortunately, there is a high potential for moisture intrusion into a crawl space. So it can range from this simple dampness to standing water to flooded crawl spaces. And then also, even if you have a dry crawl space, you can also have a very humid crawl space.
Yeah, you can.
And so basically those can be associated with each other, or they could be just totally separate issues. And high humidity causes its own problems.
Now, if you detect moisture in a crawl space and you suspect mold, is that something that you are able to determine, or do you refer them to someone that's a mold specialist? How do you handle that situation?
Basically, we can handle that in many different ways. What a home inspection is a visual inspection. So we're looking, and if we see something on a floor structure, just by looking at it, we cannot tell you that is mold, that is fungus, that is mildew.
Right.
But there's a growth there. So that is an indicator that something is going on.
Right.
If you would like us to take a sample and send it to a lab to tell you what it is, we can do that. Or if it's pretty significant, we can tell you, oh, you need to talk to an environmental company that can handle that for you.
Now, you're a certified home inspector, and it's very important to use, and I stress this to clients, to use a certified home inspector. If you've got someone coming out to inspect that heat and air, you want them to be certified in that industry. Plumber, electrician, I stress that. Do you agree it's very important to use a certified professional?
Yes, and just on top of that as well, in the state of Tennessee, home inspectors are licensed. So
Mhm.
we are basically like a licensed contractor, but we are a licensed home inspection professional. So number one, any home inspections done in Tennessee should be done by a licensed home inspector. Kind of in relation to that, in Georgia, there is no license. So you do not need a Georgia home inspection license to inspect in Georgia because there is not one.
Right.
But then on top of that, most of the established or professional full-time home inspectors will be certified by some organization. And so myself and all the guys that work with me, we are members of the American Society of Home Inspectors. And so that is one major organization in the home inspection field. There are others, but that is one additional layer of basically professionalism. And it basically ensures you that your home inspector is getting required continuing education,
right,
and that type of thing.
Right. Yeah. To me, that's very, very important. You know, some problems I've noticed, and I want you to speak a little bit about this. I've noticed that sometimes when there's a basement, it appears that there's moisture. I've noticed that myself, especially on homes that are vacant or have been shut up for a while and not occupied. And also, I've noticed a problem with moisture in homes that have exterior stucco. Do those seem to be problems here in this area?
Well, most basements, like there is a potential for moisture.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that the solution is relatively straightforward. You've got spots where moisture is coming right at the foundation. You've got gutters that overflow. You've got downspouts that discharge right at the foundation. You've got landscaping that slopes in towards the home. And sometimes the simple solution will be most of the fix. Unfortunately, that's not all cases.
Yeah.
And then you have to go further. But that's one thing that we definitely look for is the simple things. There's no point in not fixing all those simple things, which may be a good percentage or if not at all of the solution for items like that.
How do you detect moisture? And, you know, you're one of the few home inspectors that actually do check stucco, aren't you? Because I know I've called some out before and they don't have the ability to check stucco.
What you're referring to is something that we generically call synthetic stucco, which is a styrofoam-based stucco look home. And that typically is a home that was built in the 90s.
Yeah.
It might be late 80s, early 2000s, but generally 1990s homes. And that does require specialized equipment to do a moisture test on those particular types of homes. But in general, we use moisture meters to go around the perimeters of finished basements to check for moisture. We also have the ability to use thermal imaging. We've used infrared cameras.
Sounds pretty technical.
It's pretty high-tech stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but that does aid in identifying issues. Definitely does.
How important is it to check for radon gas in this area? Because I have people frequently ask me, should I check for radon gas?
Well, radon is an odorless, colorless, radioactive gas. And the reason why it's important to test for it is the second leading contributor to lung cancer.
Wow.
And so the US EPA has kind of classified the United States by county, either low risk, moderate risk, or high risk. Hamilton County is classified as a moderate risk, which means that the average, just pick a house at random, the average home probably falls within a rating of radon of between 2 and 4 picocuries per liter, and that's how they measure radon. Well, they consider 4.0 average level as the action level. If it's over 4, they want you to do something with it to bring it down. So the average home is between 2 and 4, and with the action level being 4. That being said, I saw a recent study a few weeks ago that found that 20% of the Hamilton County homes have elevated radon.
Wow.
Over 4.
I didn't know that at all.
The average house is between 2 and 4, but 20% of the homes is over 4 where something needs to be done.
Well, I didn't know that. Now, I've heard other areas across the U.S. have problems with radon gas. I think Colorado's one. I didn't realize that we had that big of a problem here.
Well, it's not like other areas of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people hear that they have a 5 level or a 6 level, that's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's some areas that would, oh, wow, 6 would be great because they're at 100. Or so we are can be above what the EPA says is the action level, but it's not extreme.
Right.
But it is very correctable.
Well, as you're aware, as realtors, any home that's built or constructed before 1978, we have to have a lead-based paint disclosure filled out on those. On homes that are older, like I just sold one, as a matter of fact, your company will be doing a home inspection on it Friday, and it's 100 years old. How important is it on homes that are that old to check for lead-based paint, and how do you detect that?
Well, lead paint, in order to test it, that is a separate certification that there are not very many people out there that actually do that. And generally what we tell people is if it's older than 1978, we can almost guarantee you that if it's got the older structure behind it, there's lead-based paint in there someplace. And so, and there's actually a fairly recent federal guideline that has to do with lead-based paint that states that if you do work on the house yourself, just take precautions and deal with it yourself. But if you hire somebody, they have to follow these lead-safe federal guidelines with lead-based paint, which will add additional expense to that project. But basically, if it was built in 1950 or 1960 or 1909, there's lead-based paint there. There's no two ways about it.
Maybe under the layers.
It's there, just don't disturb it.
Pretty much. And so if it has a modern layer of paint on top, then it is somewhat encapsulated, but you still have to be cautious of paint chips and, that type of thing.
Now, do you ever check for carbon monoxide or anything like that? Or ever get requested to?
No, we don't.
Okay,
it's not something that really gets called for in our area as much.
Right. That makes sense. And as far as we were just talking about lead-based paint not disturbing it, what about asbestos siding? Sometimes I can show homes, and I'll just give an example, that were built in the 1950s, and they may have asbestos siding, and that seems to scare some buyers right off the bat.
Well, the asbestos siding, which is basically a shingle look type of siding, was in the 1950s what vinyl siding is to us today.
Right.
It was your standard homes siding, or it was the replacement siding of the day. And actually, it's probably the best siding there ever was made. It does not rot, does not deteriorate, holds paint really, really well. And its only issue is the asbestos fibers that are embedded in it. So if it is left undisturbed, it's great. It doesn't burn. It's really good stuff. But if you said, I'm putting a new door in here, or I'm changing out windows, well, that adds a certain layer of precautions that need to be taken. Or if you said, I want it gone, well, then you've got to do the environmental things to pull it off and dispose of it. So
how safe is it just to cover it up? Like if you wanted to cover it up with vinyl siding, is that
basically whatever precautions are made for the fasteners so that you deal with the dust that is created? But once it's covered up, it's basically a non-issue.
Some people don't have any idea what it costs to have a home inspection, and you may have different price levels, but how much is it to have a home inspection generally?
It depends upon the size of the home and any additional options that one would want to have. But for what we'd have for what we'd call a regular sized home, 2,000 square feet, $400 and some odd dollars. So, and if you wanted to add, say, a radon test, that'd be an additional $165, or there are add-ons to that. But if you were thinking $450, give or take 50, that would get you a regular house inspection.
Now, if I'm a first-time home buyer buying my very first home, what would you recommend? At what level should I have you inspect of those that you just named? What would be your recommendation?
Well, basically what I would recommend is, our standard inspection, we call it our plus inspection, which is a visual inspection of all the system structures and components of the home. And that's basically what your standard inspection will be with any home inspector. And so, of course, we would consider that the minimum. Right. And a lot of times price does come into it. Oh, yeah. And I'm really good at spending other people's money. So it's, but we've got something we call our premium inspection, where we introduce the use of infrared cameras, and we do appliance recall checks to make sure that the appliances don't have recalls. And if they do, then help you out in getting those taken care of. And so that does add another layer of cost. It's not terrible cost, but we would, at least a standard inspection. And then if you are in a house that's on a ridge that has a basement, well, I would think about doing a radon test.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What do you consider to be the average lifespan of a heat and air system and a water heater?
Most of that, from what I see, so it's basically just what I see.
Exactly.
It's rare to see 20-year-old units. That's real rare. 15 years is kind of that point where it starts going downhill. Quick. Right. But some things don't even last 10 years.
Well, and probably one way to get the most lifespan out of a unit is to have it serviced on a regular basis. And
that is the way to maximize it. Definitely is.
Exactly.
I was wondering, if the level of radon is higher than it should be, how do you get that number down?
There are systems, and generically it's called a radon mitigation system. And there are professional companies that do radon mitigation. But basically all that entails is they'll locate an area in the basement or in the crawl space. They'll put in what looks like a drain pipe, a 4-inch drain pipe, and it will be sunk through the concrete, routed up and out of the house. And it will have an inline fan in that, and it basically just draws the gas through the pipe and out, so it doesn't seep into the home.
Almost like an exhaust fan in the bathroom.
Same idea. Okay. And you're looking at $1,000 or so. So it's not a terrible cost, but it could be necessary.
Right.
This time of year, when you're inspecting attics, do you see problems with critters getting in there, or probably in crawl spaces as well? I know I've had clients that have had problems with that, a raccoon, and my goodness, at the damage it can cause.
Animals can cause significant damage. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's springtime that we'll have more or less. Okay. We just have different ones.
Makes sense. Well, for anyone thinking about buying a home and they need to hire a home inspector, and I know you're one of the best, Ken. I'm a little partial to you, though, because I do a lot of business with you, and I know you're good at what you do. Tell them how they can get in touch with you.
You can give us a call at 326-2008. Look us up on the website, pillartopost.com/Chattanooga. And we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Again, his number is 423-326-2008. Call him. He'll be glad to come out and do an inspection for you. Also, for anyone thinking about buying a home or selling a home, please contact Sabrena Realty Associates. We can be reached at 423-499-7780. That's 423-499-7780, or visit our website at SabrenaRealty.com.
Looking good out there through the afternoon with some sunshine, warming up nicely, highs 73 to 75. Tonight, milder under fair skies, lows lower 50s. More warm spring-like weather ahead for the midweek, becoming breezy but dry through Thursday with highs back into the mid-70s. Did you know that your car talks to you? Are you listening? All those beeps, vibrations, and light-up icons are your car's way of communicating to help you be a safer driver. Learn more now at mycardoeswhat.org. And I'm Swarm Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio. Go, 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 go.
Welcome back to the Sabrena Realty Hour here on Hot News Talk Radio, 1240 a.m. Why should people call Sabrena Realty, Mark?
Well, a number of reasons. One, you, with all of your experience and having been recently the Realtor of the Year, which was voted on by your peers, that's a very big accomplishment. And of course, you don't have any of the hidden fees, the admin fees,
Nope.
administrative costs.
We sure don't.
And then, of course, you have a unique and different commission structure, and people can find out more about that when they call you. And I do urge people to call. If you've considered buying or selling a home, I urge you to at least just spend a half hour talking with Sabrena and the rest of the crew back at our office, and just kind of find out what's really going on in the market, what is potentially you can get out of your home if you're selling, how much home can you buy if you're a buyer. Interest rates are almost ridiculously low.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes.
But that's if you're renting, you can get so much more house for what you're paying in rent or less.
Why make the landlord rich?
No, don't do it anymore.
I mean, why not invest in your own future? I said we're going to start promoting a listing, and how many realtors are out promoting their listings live on the radio? I want to promote a new listing today, 128 Windsor Lane. This is a fabulous home we just listed in Whinstone. Whinstone is a gated golf community with a community pool, clubhouse, ponds. Just a beautiful, beautiful subdivision. But this home has almost 5,000 square feet, all custom built, 4-bedroom, 4-bath. We just listed it for $345,000. It won't last long. And I tell you, we've got somebody sitting by that would love to make that loan for you. Who have we got with us today, Mark?
We've got Ben Phillips.
Hi, how are y'all doing?
Fantastic. How are you, Ben?
I'm doing fantastic.
We're so honored to have you here today, Ben.
I'm honored to be here.
You are just like the master when it comes to home loans. I mean, you've got the experience. You've had great success. And tell me about these rates. What on earth is going on with these phenomenal interest rates? It's unbelievable.
It really is unbelievable. But first, let me let everyone out there know one more thing about why it's important to call Sabrena at SabrenaRealty.com. Folks, there are 1,200, is that right? 1,200 realtors.
Probably
in the area.
1,400 now, yeah.
And with such a big pool of people to choose from to actually sell your home, list your home, the money that goes into getting that home sold, and then helping you find a home and having the tools that cost money, it's just super important to use to partner up with a realtor that is going to that has a track record of success. And being Realtor of the Year out of the 1,100 at the time, that speaks volumes.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Just it's very important. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And you know what? It doesn't matter if you're number 1 or number 5 today. If you're in the top 100, you're doing something outstanding for the folks out there that are trying to buy and sell the home. And Sabrena, I'm honored to be here with you. So really
thank you.
That.
And when you're ranked as high as Sabrena is, and you're doing it yourself, not a team of 10, 15 people, and hopefully somebody will call you back. But
she's a get it done girl.
With Sabrena, you're getting Sabrena, and that's huge.
Well, I'm just trying to keep up with Ben here. Let's talk about Ben a little bit. Ben, what is going on with the phenomenal interest rates? It is just unbelievable, and I'm loving it.
It's incredible. Think about this, folks. About a year from now, let's just say the interest rates are a couple percentage points higher, which will still be phenomenally low over the past 25 years. That means you can buy, if interest rates went up 2%, which again would be still much lower than the average interest rate over the last 30 years. That means that you can buy 60 to 75,000 more home. Is that 2 bedrooms? Is that 3 bedrooms? Is that a study? Is it a pool?
It may be a 4-bedroom instead of a 2-bedroom because the rate's so low.
Right. Is it 5 acres instead of 1 acre?
Exactly. So much more.
Folks, I think the point is that rates are low right now. So we need to act today.
And Ben, for anyone out there thinking, well, I haven't saved enough money to buy a home. I mean, there are loans out there that require zero or very little down payment. Why don't you talk to him a little bit about that? Because I know you're doing all those loans.
That's right. We have a first-time homebuyer loan that is absolutely fantastic. 0% down.
Wow.
The seller can pay your closing costs. We can even up the price to a fair market value that supports those. And you can literally go to the table and have paid zero to buy the home and get a few bucks back at the closing so that you can buy some new furniture. So it's an incredible time. That USDA loan, the veteran loan, all these are 100% financing. But more importantly than that, right now there's a program out there where a lot of millennials and a lot of middle-aged folks that are wanting to buy more home, there's a 3% down program where if you have not owned a home in the last 3 years,
wow,
you can eliminate mortgage insurance. Is anybody
that
here?
is unbelievable.
Mortgage insurance is the devil of
yes.
interest, because it's additional interest. And folks, we got this program about 6 months ago, and it is tearing up the market right now, and we have zoomed because of it. When you can save another $150 on your mortgage payment, that's half of a car payment. That's a tuition bill.
That's a week's groceries.
Amen. So we're all trying to get by. We're all trying to better ourselves, and it's important to recognize. One thing I wanted to discuss, though, is back on this interest rate thing, along with these products that are outstanding right now for homeowners, is that, why are interest rates so low?
Exactly.
Why? And, we're adding 200 to 250,000 jobs each month. And so as we started seeing that month after month of these new jobs coming in, we began believing strongly that interest rates were going to climb. What we really weren't thinking about was the fact that we're now a global economy.
Yeah.
Right now, Japan is losing hundreds of thousands of jobs. Europe, they are in turmoil with their jobs. They're at negative interest rates, folks.
Wow.
Japan just went to negative interest rates. Why do you think Russia pulled out of Syria today? Because they met their objective? No, because they are having financial pressure from a home. And let's face it, the people run the country. We run the country. We have to choose. We have to stand up and fight for what we believe in. And so we've got a lot of pressure globally where it's like America is blessed to be where they're at right now. And, we need strong leadership up there at the top so that we can make good decisions. But folks, we have to understand that the time is looming where when all these other countries get their interest rates back in line, when they start adding jobs, the reason why we've kept the rates down, the Fed has put pressure on that, is because they don't want us to go buy $10. They don't want us to go pay $10 for a carton of eggs. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen if we raise our interest rates right now. So we're lowering interest rates.
Chicken.
That's right.
I have to get my own chicken.
That's right. We'll get 10 of them and we'll eat our own eggs. And that's the way to do it. That's what people are doing. And it's a time where we have to recognize the opportunity.
Yeah. America is blessed. And I will tell you, though, if we want to keep seeing God's blessing, we better continue to stand by Israel.
Amen.
So with you getting all that going, I just had to get that plug in there. You don't hear enough of our leaders talk about standing by Israel, but I think that is so important. And Israel's got a good economy too.
They do. And who wants to mess with God?
Not me.
Not me. In fact, if God's on my side, then guess what, folks? Don't come at me, because I've got a shield of protection, and that's why we are so blessed.
And I tell you, I give a lot of my success. I credit all of it to God
100%.
Because I know that, my company belongs to him. He has blessed us. He has put the opportunity for us to work with individuals that we know that God put them in our path and gave us the opportunity. And Ben, I can even say this with you, because I remember when I first met you, you were at another company and you may have been leasing at the time, but you bought your own place over in East Brainerd, and it has just been so inspirational to see what else happened with you. Now, you're a hard worker, though. You're going to make it at anything you do just because you're that type of person.
I believe that God called me to rise up and be the best I can be. And I would rather be number one, even at the cost of money. And the reason why is because I feel strongly that, I know strongly that God has called me to be the best that I can be in everything that I do. And though I fall short, he's always there to pick me up. Just like the footprints, the footprints poster that you see here and there. And it's, without faith, without the desire to listen, without listening to God, what do we have, folks?
That's true.
The reason why you're successful in your real estate business, the reason why I'm successful in the money lending business, is because of our faith in God to carry us through, because not every day is a perfect day.
No, not at all.
But you know what? When you don't have a perfect day and you can smile through it and you can keep on working hard,
that's right.
That makes tomorrow that much brighter when all that stuff starts coming around. And let's face it, another thing we were going to talk about today was about success in general.
Exactly.
And how to be more successful. And
we want to hear how to do it, because you're such a young guy and you are an inspiration. And I feel that you have a magnetic personality. You attract people to you because you have a lot of energy. You're very upbeat, always smiling. You don't talk about problems. I mean, you really do attract people because you have a magnetic personality. Does he not, Mark? I mean, he really does. And it's inspiring. And I think that
it's contagious too.
It is contagious. And I think that you can offer a lot of advice for anyone out there that may be starting out in any business, because we've seen you do it from the ground up, Ben. And I know you have a good team, but what are the secrets to success? What would you identify those to be?
Well, I'm very humbled to hear that. And of course, those kind of things make folks feel good to hear. And that's exactly the first point, is that we need to make others feel better.
That's right.
We need to inspire others to do more. I had a famous football coach meet me one time, and he said, "Hey, put your hands up as high as you can." And I put my hands as high as I could. And he said, "You know what? I think you can make them higher." And so he said, "Just stretch them higher." And I did it. And he's like, "Now what? You just did it. You just went, I told you to do it the highest possible. And then I asked you to do it a little bit higher, and you did it." So we need a coach.
Yeah.
We all need a coach. And, God's our coach first. And then after that, we need human coaches too.
We need to be held accountable too, don't we?
Yes. And here's what I do with my team, day in and day out, month in and month out. Most importantly, I love them, respect them. I care for them. I focus on their life. And if I help them, like Zig Ziglar said, if you help someone get what they want, they're going to help you get what you want. But the thing that I teach, and I made this up myself, and I've stolen probably little bits and pieces from other folks along the way, is I teach them this. I say, draw a triangle on a piece of paper, and I say, you know what? Let's what's on your mind today? What do you want? What's out there that's what kind of decision, what kind of thing that you need out there, whether it be a financial obligation, whether it be closing an extra mortgage this month, whether it be to find that awesome spouse or mate in life, whatever that is, put that in the middle of that triangle. And I say, okay, so that's your success.
Right.
So let's say it's closing a home loan for a real estate agent. And so, we put that home loan right there in the middle of it. And I say, if you want that success, you've got to act successful. You've got to act that success. And I teach it's a 3-pronged approach, and it starts with really a spirit. It's the acronym for ACT. And the first letter is A, and it stands for attitude. Without your mind, without smiling through the worst of times. Right. Have you ever been cut off by some person on the interstate, and you just wanted to throw that that sign up that people throw up, and yet instead, right when you do that, you all of a sudden the framework, the mind gets you and says, and you just wave at them. Yeah. And you just smile. And it's okay that you cut me off. And
that actually gets them more anyway than the ugly
but it impacts them too.
Yeah, it does.
Oh my goodness, they didn't, and
exactly.
Attitude is everything. In fact, the next 2 things I'm going to tell you real quick are pointless without good attitude. True. So focus. Hey, look, someone out there that is listening is having a bad day. They are. There's just you're going through something out there, and I'm just going to ask you to smile about it and say, hey, God's going to take care of this for me. Right. And you're better off right now. So it's almost like game over right there. You already won. So the attitude is of the utmost important. And I said, act successful. So let's continue on. The C stands for consistency, and it's not just consistency. That's just an adjective to describe your behavior. So consistency in your behaviors. Do you get up at 9 o'clock in the morning when really you need to be getting up at 7 o'clock? I mean, are you getting the kids to school on time? Are you paying the bills on time?
Right.
Consistently? Oh, I paid them 10 months out of the year on time. The other 2 months, who cares about that, right? Well, that's a problem with getting a mortgage loan these days. So
Exactly.
you got to pay your bills on time. So consistency in your behaviors. And hey, it's tough to be consistent 100% of the time if you don't have the right attitude, right?
That's true.
So, okay, we're going to have the right attitude.
Mhm.
We're going to have consistency in our behaviors. So if it's we're trying to sell a house,
Right.
we're going to consistently focus on that client.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk to that client and say, hey, we're going to get a radio show and talk about these listings.
Yeah.
And that's something that you do that no other realtor is really stepping out and doing, because
Right.
it costs money, right?
Right. It does.
So it's a sacrifice. And then the T. So we're going to put on the act, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to become the success, and we're going to tie it down. And what I mean by that is we're going to tie step 1 instead of trying to tie step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can't tie selling a home by just pulling out a contract and then magically having someone there.
Right.
Step 1 is you're going to advertise it. Step 2 is you're going to sacrifice your time and money
Invest in it.
into radio shows.
Mhm.
And you're going to tell the world about it in a way. You're going to communicate, and then you're going to get some buyers, and you're going to show them that, and passionately keep on going. One little success at a time will build to that ultimate success that you want, whether it's getting married or just getting that awesome job, getting a raise at work.
Yeah.
Right. And all these things are kind of surrounded around the one of the most important things in life is to survive and make the most of what your life is. And we do that when we have good shelter.
Oh, yeah.
Folks that are renting right now, like Mark was talking about earlier, it's good to have that shelter that you're just renting, and then you're more mobile. But I tell you what, I'm very thankful for having a little bit less mobility, because I have an investment. My home's going to be paid off soon, y'all.
That's great.
I have a home that is worth money, and that money, I won't pay that rent payment ever again.
Life is different when the house is paid for.
I actually have a fact on that. It was actually put out by a real estate company that I was at one of their presentations at a mortgage convention.